welcome to the vlog. If you're new here, my name is Alison. I live in a tiny house, a 9-metre tiny house on wheels with my husband. We live about an hour away from Melbourne, in country Victoria. We've lived tiny now for 5.5 years, and during that time we've gone through ups and downs, and it takes a while to adapt to a tiny lifestyle. Now, when you look on social media such as YouTube and TikTok, the tiny house lifestyle seems very idyllic. The house tours are amazing, the houses look wonderful, everything has a place. You're living in the countryside, surrounded by nature, living off grid, maybe growing vegetables. It really is the idyllic life. However, now we've lived in a tiny house for 5.5 years, we definitely have an understanding of what the challenges are, what the toughest things are about living tiny. So today I'm going to share those with you. So maybe grab a cuppa, grab a drink, and let's get started. Okay, so let's start with the obvious one. First of all, the space that you're living in is only a few square meters. So it's very cozy, but sometimes it can be claustrophobic. You really don't have a lot of room at all. There's nowhere really that you can just sort of go and have some privacy. You know, you really are very close to the people that you live with. So it's got to be harmonious because there is nowhere to escape to. Some days not having a lot of space does feel claustrophobic, and you feel like you just need to get out, whether it be to a coffee shop, go for a walk. Cabin fever is certainly true when living in a tiny house. You do need to find privacy in other ways. Another thing that can be difficult is if someone in your family is unwell. It can be difficult to stay away from them so you don't become ill as well. We found it really difficult during COVID to try and isolate if someone was unwell with COVID. So yeah, being unwell, it means that you share in the same space. Other things is that because noise travels, it might be difficult for you to have time to work from home because of the noise, or if you're doing sort of like online meetings or interviews. Again, that can be quite difficult living in a tiny house because it's noisy, there may be people around. So these are the sorts of things that you have to think about. All right, I did briefly talk about this in the first thing, that you don't have a lot of space and it can become a bit claustrophobic. And one of the feelings around claustrophobia is that you just have lots of things around you. So in a tiny house, you've really got to make sure that you only have the essential things. You can't just keep things for like, oh, just in case, because you just don't have the room. Also, if you're buying things, it's usually one thing in, one thing out. Because your storage spaces are so small, you're putting lots of things in them, and that can soon get a bit messy and feel claustrophobic. So I'll just show you my wardrobe. So this is my space. So these are all the clothes that I own. And then I've not really got a space for bags. I need to hang bags up somewhere else, and socks. I've got like a yoga block there. So this is my whole wardrobe. So not very much. And then, so I told you storage is really small. And then this is my makeup, hair tools, hair accessories, nails, and it's not very well organised, as you can see, because it's been a busy week and I've just been shoving things in. But yeah, that's my space. So you don't have much space for storage at all. Yeah, and you can't have all the things that you see because you really just don't have the space. So yeah, storage is always a constant challenge. As I say, the thing that I found was difficult was storing coats, winter shoes, gloves and hats, also work bags, fitness bags, fitness equipment. Like, I'll just show you. We have a foam roller here. So yeah, it's things like that. It's that's part of tiny house living, that storage is hard, and yeah, you've always constantly trying to find storage areas to put your belongings, and you really do need to limit the amount of things that you have. The next one is privacy. If you live with a friend, a family member, or you have children living with you, just remember that privacy is minimal. Everybody can hear everything. So that is a really hard challenge. So if you have a disagreement or an argument, there's nowhere really to cool off. If you're wanting to chill out and have a bit of alone time, that can be difficult. So yeah, having privacy is not easy, and you do basically need to get on with the people that you live with, because you are living in such a small area. Yeah, everything is heard. So yeah, you have to definitely consider your privacy, and if you need a lot of privacy and quiet time, maybe tiny house living is maybe not for you. Having visitors is really a challenge when you live tiny. It is doable, but it's really difficult. We do have an outside deck area, so I think if you are wanting to entertain friends or family, outdoor spaces are really needed, because having people in the home, it's very difficult. Sometimes when our son comes with his fiance, there's 4 of us, and it's really difficult to entertain. We all usually have to sit outside, so it is doable, but it's very challenging. Easier in the summer because you can use outside spaces, but in the winter I'd probably say it's impossible, because if your visitors come with coats and boots, yeah, it's just the space is just too tiny. There's probably not enough seats for everybody. So yeah, I will probably say, if you are someone who loves to entertain, it is doable, but it's very difficult living in a tiny house. Can you hear Millie? She's playing with her toy. That's what I mean. You get no privacy living in a tiny house. No quiet time. So the next sort of challenge is that in a regular house, a little bit of mess, you can get away with it. However, in a tiny house, a little bit of mess can really affect the space. So you have to be really organised. You have to put things away. If you don't, it can become chaos very quickly. There can be things everywhere, and it can make you feel sort of closed in and claustrophobic, and you know, it can make you feel anxious because there's all this stuff around you and your home feels untidy. So yeah, it's again another thing that you've got to think about, that you've got to be really organised. You've got to put things away. And you have to do things straight away. So for example, if you go on holiday and you come back, you have to unpack your bags straight away. You can't just leave them in a spare bedroom and do them over a few days, because you don't have a spare bedroom and the suitcases or the bags are so big, you need that space. Yeah, it's like everything. You've got to unpack parcels straight away. You can't leave boxes. You've got no hallway to leave boxes and, oh, I'll unpack that later. So, bless you. So yeah, it's difficult, you know. Everything has to be done straight away. Even on a laundry day, we'll do our laundry and you can't leave it in the basket and think I'll do it over the next few days. You have to do it straight away. So you have to be very organised to live in a tiny house. Otherwise, it just becomes chaos really quickly. So I'm making this vlog today on a Saturday, my day off, and today it's been our laundry day. So I just wanted to show you, this is our laundry, and currently it's sitting on the kitchen side, but that will be going away tonight. Otherwise, we won't have any space to prepare our food this evening. So yeah, that's something that you've got to think about. You're always constantly making sure that things are sorted and out of the way. Okay, the next one is a whole big topic that I will talk about in another vlog, and that is your land, any legal issues, council permits, your landlord who you rent the land off. This can cause quite a lot of stress for someone who lives in a tiny house. There's so much involved with it. If you decide to go through the proper route, that can be very challenging, trying to get a permit. And then you have the other side where people will live under the radar, and that can be as stressful because you're just hoping that nobody reports you. So it's a whole big topic that I will cover. I'll just briefly tell you our story though. We found land by putting an advert in Facebook, our community page. We just did an introduction, said we were looking for some land that we could rent. A family got in touch with us. We had a look at the land. It was perfect. The owner of the land didn't want us to go under the radar. They wanted us to apply to the council, which we did. That was a big process. Again, I'll cover this in another vlog. But eventually we applied for a caretaker's permit and we got a 10-year lease. However, there's still issues. Even if you get a lease, you know, you've got to make sure that you sort of keep within the details of the lease, and you never really own that land. So again, you're paying money for something that you don't own. You've got to make sure that neighbours are happy. Yeah, so it's a whole big topic about where you're going to park your tiny house, and that's something that I will cover in further vlogs to try and help people that are considering a tiny house lifestyle. But it can be a real big headache and a real challenge for people, and it's something that people sort of know, but they, you know, you always think that you're going to be okay. However, I do know of families that have decided to go for the tiny house lifestyle, and unfortunately they've had issues with the land and council's been involved and asked them to move on, which can be very, very costly. So yeah, it's a big area, and I will cover it on further vlogs to see if I can give people some ideas and advice on how they can navigate finding land. All right, the next one is temperature control. Tiny houses heat up very quickly. So if you live in a warm climate such as we do in Australia, the house can feel very hot very quickly. We do have air conditioning, we have fans, but even then it can still feel really, really hot, and it can be a challenge, a real challenge. I hate it when it's so hot in the tiny house. It really gets me down. So thankfully it's not for many days, but when you're going through it, it's really tough. It really is. You're just in this tin box and you're just feel like you're cooking inside it. And then you have the other situation in winter where it can feel quite cold. Although the house heats up really quickly, we have a gas heater. Underneath it can feel really cold on your feet because all the cold air is going underneath the house. You get a lot of condensation on the windows as well, which can feel damp. So yeah, there's all those sorts of things that you have to think about. Temperature control can be quite tricky in a tiny house. So that's another thing, something I didn't really think about very much before I moved in. I just thought, oh, well, we've got an air conditioner and we'll be fine. And then in the winter, we've got a heater, but you still find it's very hot in the summer, even with the aircon. And in the winter, the cold can come up through the floor and you get a lot of condensation. So yeah, temperature control can be tricky. So the next one is maintenance of your tiny house. It's very much more hands-on. So every week you're sort of checking your solar unit, you're checking the composting toilet, checking your drains. Yeah, so it just is more hands-on. You know, if you need your water tank filling up, we have to phone and get a water delivery, changing the gas canisters, all that sort of thing. So it's more hands-on. You constantly have little jobs of maintenance to do. In the winter, things like there's condensation on the windows, so you have to get your window vac or wiping them down. So yeah, there's always like things to be doing in a tiny house. Because it's such a tiny space as well, you'll find to keep it clean and tidy, you're probably going to be painting and sort of doing maintenance of each room every about 18 months. You know, you need to paint it because everywhere's sort of being used all the time, so it can look shabby pretty quick. So yeah, it's a lot of cleaning, painting, washing curtains because everything gets used so much. So yeah, there is more maintenance, I feel, with a tiny house. Probably more than a normal house because every space gets used so much. I think tiny house living is amazing, even though there are lots of challenges. But it's really important to be honest with yourself, to think, will this lifestyle really suit me? Because the novelty soon wears off. And that's what you've got to think about. There's a lot of hurdles to get to living tiny. You have to find land, which is very difficult. You have to find a builder and have your house built, and there's all that process. And then sort of the emotional side of getting rid of a lot of your belongings, probably about 85% of the things that you own. There's lots of changes that you have to make in your lifestyle. So you really want to be honest with yourself and think, is this really for me? Well, if you got this far, thank you for watching. If you're wanting more tiny house life content, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, because there will be more tiny house content on my channel coming up. I'm obviously going to do the advantages of tiny living as well. That will be coming up soon. But yeah, thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe. If you have any comments, please leave them. And I'll see you all next week for the next vlog. Take care. Bye.